There's a voice in your head. You didn't choose it. You didn't design it. But it speaks constantly. And most of the time, it's brutal. It calls you a failure when you fall short. It reminds you of every mistake before you try something new. It drags your past into the present and your fears into the future. It sounds like you. But it isn't you. It's a script, installed without your permission. And if you don't rewrite that script, it will shape the rest of your life. Let's reprogram the voice. The voice that became you. Most people's inner voice is not their own. It's a distorted echo of parental judgment, school embarrassment, peer rejection, cultural noise, unprocessed pain, social conditioning. Every time someone told you, you're not enough, your brain didn't question it. It recorded it. Then it played it back, on loop, until it became your identity. Especially before the age of 7, the brain absorbs everything as truth. It's not discerning, it's just trying to survive. So if you grew up in chaos, shame, or criticism, your default inner narrator is not your ally, it's your jailer. And over time, that voice becomes so familiar, you no longer question it. You confuse it with reality. The neuroscience of self-talk. Your brain operates on patterns. Thoughts become pathways. The more a thought is repeated, the deeper the neural groove. Like a trail worn into a mountain by repetition. Every time you think, I'm not good enough. I always screw things up. I'll never succeed. You're not just thinking. You're training your brain. You're reinforcing that neural circuit. And the more you do it, the more automatic it becomes. This is Hebb's law. Neurons that fire together wire together. Your mind becomes the architecture of your repetition. But the same law that built the cage can build the exit. You can rewire the voice. The thought-emotion-behavior loop. Here's how it works. A thought arises. That thought creates an emotion. The emotion drives behavior. And the behavior reinforces the original thought. Let's say the thought is, I'm going to fail. That creates anxiety. Anxiety causes you to avoid action. Avoidance leads to underperformance. And now you have evidence. See, I failed. The loop is complete. The code strengthens. You cannot escape this loop through willpower alone. You have to disrupt it, replace it, and install something new. Interrupt. Insert. Integrate. This is the formula. 3 steps. First, interrupt. Catch the thought as it arises. Don't run from it. Label it. That's the critic. That's the old code. That's fear trying to disguise itself as logic. Interrupt the pattern. Name it. Own it. Break its momentum. Second, insert. You don't need fake positivity. You need a new frame. Instead of, I'm going to fail, say, I've faced worse and survived. Or, this is another rep. Another test. Let's see what happens when I stop running. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about giving your brain a new path to follow. Third, integrate. Now act. Do something that proves the new thought. It can be small. It can be quiet. But it must be real. Because when a new thought leads to new behavior, the brain begins to rewire. This is how you turn a mental script into a new identity. Rewiring exercises. These are not hacks. These are neural workouts. 1. Thought journaling. Each morning, write down 3 recurring negative thoughts. Next to each one, write a counter thought. Something believable, grounded, strong. Read them aloud, daily. 2. Mirror confrontations. Look in the mirror. Speak the thought out loud. Then dismantle it with truth. For example, I'm lazy. Then answer, I worked every day this week. That's not laziness. That's discipline the voice refuses to see. 3. Name the voice. It might sound strange, but it works. Give the inner critic a name, something silly or weak. Then say, I hear you, but you don't run this mind anymore. This creates separation. It turns the voice from identity into static. 4. Track your wins. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you did well, no matter how small, because your brain is wired to remember failure louder than success. This exercise restores balance. The lie of tough love. Many believe the harsh voice is necessary, that it keeps them sharp, motivated, grounded. But here's the truth. Shame is a motivator that decays everything it touches. It creates compliance, not resilience. Fear, not focus. Collapse, not confidence. Long-term progress does not come from internal abuse. It comes from internal clarity. Compassion is not weakness. It's the operating system of sustainable growth. If your inner voice is a drill sergeant, fire him. Replace him with a warrior, a strategist, a builder, someone who holds you accountable without destroying your worth. When the voice fights back, there will be days when it returns, louder, harsher, more convincing. You're a fraud. You're wasting time. You're still that broken kid. Let it speak. Let it scream. Then calmly say, you've had your turn. I've got work to do. It may stay in the back seat, but it no longer drives. It no longer chooses your direction. The long-term rewire. Give it 30 days, not perfection, just repetition. Catch the thought, reframe it, act on it, repeat. Soon, failure won't destroy you. Loneliness won't define you. Rejection won't shrink you. You won't need the old voice anymore, because your identity will no longer be built on fear. You are not your thoughts. You are the architect that chooses them. You are the system that edits them. You are the one who rewires line by line until the voice becomes your ally. Let's continue. You wake up, you check your phone, you scroll, you click, you swipe, you get a hit, another hit, then another. You haven't even left your bed, and your brain has already been hijacked. This is not laziness. This is not weakness. This is neurochemistry. And it's been weaponized against you. Every app, every notification, every scroll, they're engineered to flood your brain with dopamine. And over time, you become dependent on stimulation. You're no longer chasing progress. You're chasing the next hit. Let's take it back. Understanding dopamine. Dopamine is not pleasure. Dopamine is pursuit. It's the neurotransmitter that drives anticipation, motivation, and craving. When you set a goal, dopamine rises. When you move toward the goal, it spikes. But when you flood your brain with synthetic rewards, junk food, porn, endless scrolling, your dopamine system short circuits. Now your brain expects highs without effort. It gets used to cheap wins, and when real work doesn't provide instant gratification, you feel bored, restless, or numb. You're not broken. Your dopamine is miscalibrated. The cost of overstimulation. High dopamine input leads to one thing: low baseline motivation. What once excited you now feels dull. What once mattered now feels irrelevant. You start chasing novelty over depth, quantity over quality, hits over meaning. This is why people say they can't focus. It's why discipline feels impossible. It's why meaningful work feels like pain. You don't need more motivation. You need a reset. What a dopamine detox is not. A dopamine detox does not mean eliminating dopamine. That's impossible. You need dopamine to live, move, and act. It also doesn't mean becoming a monk in a cave. It means this: removing high dopamine, low-effort behaviors, so your brain can recalibrate. It's not about doing nothing. It's about getting back to a state where hard equals satisfying, instead of easy equals reward. The problem with instant reward: the brain learns by association. If you get dopamine from eating sugar every night, your brain associates pleasure with no effort. If you get dopamine from scrolling TikTok every 5 minutes, your brain learns that stimulation is infinite and free. Now you try to study. You try to work. You try to build something real. And the brain resists. Because the dopamine isn't immediate. It's not your willpower that's broken. It's your reference point. Let's fix it. The reset plan. Start with 24 hours. No phone. No screens. No sugar. No porn. No junk food. No mindless music. No distractions. Just you. A notebook. Water. Real food. Time outside. Silence. Let your nervous system breathe. Let your mind feel boredom again. Because boredom is not the enemy. It's the space where focus grows. If you want more, go for 72 hours. If you want to go deeper, do 7 days. The goal is not to punish yourself. The goal is to teach your brain. That real effort leads to real reward. What you'll feel. First withdrawal. Your brain will panic. You'll feel restless, agitated, maybe even depressed. This is the cost of overstimulation. Then, silence. Your thoughts will get louder. You'll remember things you've buried. You'll notice emotions you've avoided. Let them come. Let them move through. Finally, clarity. You'll start to feel present. You'll want less. You'll enjoy the basics again. A walk, a conversation, a book. This is your baseline restoring. Long-term integration. You don't need to detox forever, but you do need to change your relationship with reward. Here's how. Limit screen time to intentional windows. Eat real food, not engineered hyperpalatable garbage. Replace scrolling with reading. Replace passive consumption with creation. Replace numbing with challenge. Build your life around high-effort, high-reward tasks. Train your brain to love process, not payoff. The more you act from discipline, the less you'll need stimulation. The rewired system. After a full reset, your mind won't just feel better. It will operate differently. You'll be able to sit in silence. You'll be able to work longer. You'll feel drive returning. You'll notice beauty in small things again. Because when your dopamine is no longer hijacked, your motivation becomes powerful. Your focus becomes deadly. Your ambition becomes sustainable. You are not your cravings. You are not your distractions. You are the one who chooses what your brain worships. This is your biology. The brain is not a hardwired machine. It's not static. It's not fixed. It's plastic. Neuroplasticity means your brain is constantly rewiring itself. Every thought you repeat, every emotion you indulge, every action you take is sculpting your brain in real time. This isn't philosophy. It's biology, and it means one thing. You can change, permanently, at any age, if you know how. What is neuroplasticity? Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to change its structure and function. in response to experience, learning, thought, or trauma. It's how you learn to walk. It's how you learn to talk. It's how habits were formed. It's also how they can be broken. Neural connections are like roads. Use them, and they strengthen. Ignore them, and they decay. What fires together wires together. What you focus on grows. What you avoid weakens. This is the code. You are the programmer. Your brain is a map. Think of your brain as a city. Every street is a neural pathway. The more you travel a street, the more paved and automatic it becomes. But there's a catch. The brain doesn't care whether the road is helpful or harmful. It only cares whether it's repeated. Panic attacks, addictions, negative thinking, confidence, focus, resilience, all of them learned, and all of them rewirable. The science behind it. Your brain contains around 86 billion neurons. Each neuron connects to thousands of others through synapses. When you learn something new, when you change a behavior, when you repeat a new pattern, you're forcing neurons to create new connections. This process is guided by two forces. 1. Long-term potentiation, the strengthening of active pathways. 2. Synaptic pruning, the removal of unused ones. The brain is efficient. It doesn't keep what you don't use. So every time you complain, that path strengthens. Every time you resist complaining, that path fades. And the alternative, focus, gratitude, action, begins to grow. Age is not a barrier. There's a myth that neuroplasticity declines with age, and it does. Slightly. But the truth is, the adult brain remains highly plastic. You can learn languages at 40. You can build discipline at 50. You can overcome trauma at 60. Change is harder when patterns are older. But harder doesn't mean impossible. It means deliberate. It means repeated. It means earned. The brain never loses its ability to adapt. Most people just stop asking it to. How to reshape your brain. Step 1. Choose the direction. What trait do you want? Focus, confidence, calm, drive. Name it. The brain needs clarity to rewire. Step 2. Create high-frequency exposure. Expose your brain to the new pattern constantly. Read it, speak it, visualize it, act it. Repetition is the sculptor. Step 3. Create friction around the old pattern. Interrupt old behaviors. Remove the cues. Make it harder for the brain to default to old roads. If your habit is doom scrolling, delete the app. If your habit is negative self-talk, speak the counter-thought out loud every time. Force a choice. That's what rewiring demands. Step 4. Track your reinforcement. Every time you act in alignment with the new wiring, log it, anchor it. When the brain sees proof of progress, plasticity accelerates. Habits and identity. You don't just rewire habits, you rewire self-concept. If you start acting like someone focused, the brain says, maybe we're the kind of person who focuses. That's neuroplasticity. Not just changing what you do, but changing who you are. And identity is the most stable code the brain runs. This is why you must be ruthless with repetition. Do it when you feel like it. Do it when you don't. Because every time you do, you're feeding the new neural circuit. Eventually, the old identity can't survive. It loses strength. It becomes unfamiliar. And the new one becomes default. The danger of passive wiring. If you don't choose how to rewire your brain, the world will do it for you. Advertising, fear, addiction, distraction. doubt. All of them are carving neural roads in your head, whether you like it or not. Neuroplasticity is not optional. It's always happening. The only question is, who is writing the code? The plastic brain is a weapon. Once you understand this, your excuses fall apart. You are not your past. You are not your parents. You are not your trauma. You are not your patterns. You are the one who can change them. Deliberately, aggressively, permanently. Every thought you allow, every behavior you repeat, every word you speak is either reinforcing your old self or constructing your new one. You don't get to stop sculpting. You only get to choose what you build. Your brain is plastic. Your identity is programmable. Your life is editable. Start editing. Some people wait. Wait for the perfect opportunity. Wait for the apology. Wait for someone to notice. Wait for life to be fair. But waiting is not neutral. Waiting is decay. Waiting is passive self-destruction disguised as patience. There are only two identities you can operate from: victim or creator. One asks, why is this happening to me? The other asks, what can I do with this? This chapter is about killing the victim in your mind before it kills your potential. The victim identity. Victimhood is seductive. It gives you an excuse, a story, a shield. It says, I would be further if it wasn't for them. I could win if life was fair. I'm stuck because of what happened to me. It feels comforting because it means your failure isn't your fault. And sometimes it isn't. Life can be brutal. People betray you. Luck turns against you. But here's the truth. Even if you didn't cause the pain, you're still responsible for the repair. Victimhood is not about what happened. It's about what you choose to do next. The creator identity. The creator doesn't wait. The creator builds. Not because life is easy, but because they've accepted this truth. No one is coming to save you. Not your parents. Not your partner. Not your friends. Not the universe. It's you. And the faster you accept that, the faster your power returns. The creator says, I can't control everything, but I can control my next move. That's where momentum starts. How victimhood is reinforced. Victimhood is not just emotional, it's chemical. Every time you complain, every time you externalize blame, your brain gets a small dopamine hit. It feels good to say, it's not my fault. It feels good to vent, to be seen as the one who was wronged. But over time, it creates learned helplessness. You stop trying. You stop taking responsibility. You expect the world to bend to your pain. The brain builds what it repeats. And repeated powerlessness becomes identity. Reclaiming control. The mental flip. Here's the core shift. Replace why me with now what, not what if, not someday. Just, what can I do with this exact situation? That one question removes the illusion of powerlessness. It forces action. It activates the creator. This is not delusion, it's direction. Reframing the past. People stay victims because they think letting go means excusing what happened. It doesn't. You can name the trauma. You can hold the pain. You can honor the damage. But then you choose, am I going to be defined by this or refined by this? Creators don't deny their past. They extract from it. They build with it. They weaponize it. Your story is not an anchor. It's raw material, molded into something that serves you. Daily practice of identity shifting. 1. Language audit. Stop saying, I can't. I never catch a break. No one helps me. Replace them with, I'm learning. I'm adapting. I'm figuring it out. Words become beliefs. Beliefs become systems. 2. Take radical responsibility. Not just for what you control, but for what you can influence. You didn't choose your childhood, but you choose your reaction. You didn't cause every setback, but you choose how you respond. Every day, ask, what am I pretending I can't change? 3. Create a bias toward action. Victims talk, creators act. Build something small today. Fix one thing, start one thing, face one fear. It rewires the mind to associate control with movement. Don't wait for permission. You don't need permission to become something else. You don't need a sign. You don't need the right timing. Start before you're ready. Start while it's unfair. Start when you feel unqualified. The creator is born the moment you act anyway. Not because you feel powerful, but because you refuse to stay powerless. The feedback loop of power. Action creates momentum. Momentum creates belief. Belief feeds identity. Soon you stop needing motivation. You stop chasing rescue. You stop looking backward. You start building forward, deliberately, relentlessly. And one day, you'll look back at the version of you that waited, that blamed, that hoped someone would come fix it. And you'll realize they're gone, replaced by someone who doesn't need to be saved, because they became the one who saves themselves. That's the creator, and they were always there. They were just waiting for you to wake them up. Most people imagine genius as a gift, a genetic lottery ticket, an elite IQ score, an unreachable standard. But real genius isn't about numbers. It's about patterns, how you observe, how you question, how you process. Geniuses don't just think harder, they think differently, and you can train that difference. This chapter is about installing the mental architecture that high-level thinkers use to see what others don't. Genius is pattern recognition. The mind is a pattern machine. Everything you do, from walking to reading, is learned repetition. But genius minds don't just follow patterns. They see them, they break them, and they create new ones. Einstein visualized time as space. Da Vinci studied anatomy to paint divine proportions. Steve Jobs merged art with technology. They weren't following instructions. They were reorganizing reality. Pattern recognition is not rare. It's undertrained. And when you learn to sharpen it, you start thinking like them. Hallmarks of genius-level thinking. 1. Obsessive curiosity. Geniuses don't just want answers, they want understanding. They question assumptions. They dig beneath the obvious. They ask, what am I missing? Why does this matter? What happens if I invert it? They live in questions longer than others tolerate. 2. Nonlinear processing. While most think in steps, geniuses think in jumps. They connect distant dots. They hold contradictions. They cross domains. A genius will compare a biological system to an economic model because they see structure, not just subject. 3. Mental simulation. Highly gifted minds run internal experiments constantly. They test ideas in thought before testing in reality. What if I did X? What happens next? What's the second-order effect? It's like having a chess engine inside your mind, not just reacting, predicting. 4. Intuition plus analysis. They combine logic with gut instinct, because intuition is compressed experience. But it's never used blindly. They question their instincts just as ruthlessly as their data. 5. Tolerance for complexity. Most people crave simplicity. Geniuses live in ambiguity. They understand systems are messy. They don't rush to conclusions. They don't panic at contradictions. They sit in the fog until form emerges. How to train genius-level cognition. Step 1. Develop question-based thinking. Stop memorizing. Start interrogating. Every time you consume something, ask, what is the principle here? Where else does this apply? What's being assumed that might be false? Train your mind to treat information as raw material, not as final answers. Step 2. Build analogical muscles. Compare unrelated ideas. Take a biological process and map it onto a company. Take a chess strategy and apply it to negotiation. Analogy builds cognitive flexibility. It's a genius skill most people never use. Step 3. Embrace boredom. Genius thoughts arise in empty space, not when you're overloaded, not when you're distracted. You need stillness. You need silence. You need mental space for chaos to organize itself. Step 4. Track idea collisions. Keep a notebook. Not for journaling, for synthesis. Write down what you learned. Then combine it with something unrelated. This is how insights are born. Through forced collisions. Step 5. Ruthless clarity. Geniuses are precise. They define terms. They question definitions. They don't use vague language, because vague thinking kills truth. Sharpen your language, and your mind sharpens with it. Genius is not always comfortable. To think like a genius, you'll have to let go of fitting in, because genius thinking is often misread as arrogance, or madness, or contrarianism. But most breakthroughs come from people willing to challenge the herd. You will be misunderstood. You will be doubted. You will even doubt yourself. Keep going. Genius is lonely at first, then obvious in hindsight. The dark side of genius. Genius is a tool, not a virtue. Without discipline, it becomes obsession. Without humility, it becomes delusion. Without purpose, it becomes noise. True genius is not just how you think, it's why you think. It's how you use your mind to build, not just to analyze. Use it to elevate, not dominate. To create, not just destroy. Final installation. Genius is not a gift, it's a mental operating system. You can train it, you can upgrade it, you can install it. Think in questions, cross domains, map analogies, tolerate uncertainty, seek clarity like your life depends on it. Because in the end, genius is not about knowing everything. It's about seeing what others miss and having the courage to act on it. Most people think thinking happens in the brain, that it's sealed off, that your ideas, your focus, your clarity all emerge from neurons in your skull. They're wrong. Your thoughts don't just come from your brain. They come from your body, your posture, your breathing, your stride, your movement patterns. They all shape cognition. This isn't theory. It's neuroscience. And once you understand it, you can weaponize your body to sharpen your mind. Embodied cognition. The premise. The concept is simple. You don't think with your brain. You think through your body. Cognition is not isolated to the head. It's a full body system. Your nervous system is not confined to your skull. Your gut has over 100 million neurons. Your posture sends constant feedback to your brain. Your breath regulates your prefrontal cortex. And your movement dictates the tempo, rhythm, and clarity of your thought. Motion is not separate from mind. Motion is mind. The research is clear. Studies show walking increases creative output by up to 60%. Open, expansive posture improves confidence and decision-making. Rhythmic movement enhances memory retention. Slow breathing improves cognitive control and emotional regulation. Movement changes blood flow to the brain. It activates the cerebellum, which isn't just for coordination. It's deeply involved in language, memory, and focus. Even subtle shifts, like how you sit, can increase or decrease anxiety and problem-solving ability. Stillness has a cost. Chronic stillness equals cognitive stagnation. Why sedentary minds decay? Most modern people are physically idle. They sit all day. They scroll. They stare. Then they wonder why they feel foggy, why their thoughts loop, why they can't focus. The human body evolved to move, to walk, to run, to lift, to breathe deeply. When movement stops, so does mental sharpness. Your body is a battery. Motion is the current. No current, no power. The thinking walk. Some of the greatest minds in history relied on walking to think. Nietzsche walked up to 8 hours a day. Darwin paced in loops to develop his theories. Jobs insisted on walking meetings. Why? Because walking activates bilateral brain function. It balances the hemispheres. It calms the amygdala. It enhances prefrontal activity, the seat of planning and logic. If you want to solve something complex, walk. If you want to reframe something painful, walk. If you want to think clearly, walk. You are literally wired for it. Posture is programming. Your posture sends constant data to your brain. If you slouch, fold inward, and drop your gaze, you signal defeat, and your brain follows. If you stand tall, expand your chest, lift your chin, you trigger a physiological shift. Hormones change, focus tightens, confidence rises. The body speaks first, the mind echoes it. Rewire posture, rewire perception. Breath is a keyboard. Your breath controls your nervous system. Shallow breath equals high alert. Rapid breath triggers cortisol. Slow, deep breath signals safety. It activates the parasympathetic system. Rest, recovery, clarity. The brain listens to the lungs. If you want a calm mind, build a calm breath. Movement as mental reset. When your thoughts spiral, don't sit still. Move. Change location. Change pace. Change posture. Engage the body to reset the loop. You can't think your way out of a mental trap. If your body is reinforcing the trap, break the loop with motion. Even 60 seconds of deliberate movement can disrupt a mental pattern. The morning rewire routine. Before you check your phone, before you absorb anyone else's noise, do this. 1. Walk. 10 minutes. No distractions. Let your brain wander. Let it reorganize. 2. Breathe. 4 seconds in. 6 seconds out. For 5 minutes. Let your nervous system settle. 3. Posture check. Shoulders back. Head neutral. Own your space before the world tries to shrink you. This isn't exercise. This is mental calibration. It's how you take control of the cognitive system before the day hijacks it. Stop separating mind and body. The separation is an illusion. They're not two systems. They're one loop. What you do with your body echoes in your thoughts. What you feed your posture feeds your focus. How you breathe determines how you behave. So if you want better thoughts, but better ideas and better discipline, stop trying to think harder. Start moving better. You think your mood is random. You think your anxiety is mental. You think your depression is emotional. But what if your brain wasn't the only one pulling the strings? What if the real trigger was in your stomach? There's a direct line between your gut and your brain. It's electrical, it's chemical, and it's powerful. This is the brain-gut axis, and it's one of the most underrated systems controlling your thoughts, feelings, and focus. Your gut is a nervous system. Your gut contains over 100 million neurons. It's called the enteric nervous system, and it operates semi-independently from your brain. It doesn't just digest food. It sends signals back to your central nervous system, constantly, about inflammation, about nutrient levels, about microbial activity. Your gut is not just reacting to your mood, it's generating it. The vagus nerve, the superhighway. The primary channel between your gut and your brain is the vagus nerve. It's the longest cranial nerve in your body. It controls heart rate, digestion, immune response, and more. When your gut is inflamed, or your microbiome is imbalanced, or your diet is chaotic, that irritation travels upward. And the brain interprets that discomfort as anxiety, or fatigue, or brain fog. The emotion didn't start in your mind. It started in your gut. The gut and neurotransmitters. Over 90% of your serotonin, your feel-good chemical, is produced in your gut, not in your brain. Dopamine, GABA, norepinephrine, all shaped by gut function. This means your mood, your focus, and your motivation are influenced by what's growing in your intestines. If your gut flora is balanced, your brain has the resources to function. If your gut is inflamed, your brain is under siege. You're not just feeding your body, you're feeding your emotional state. What destroys gut health? 1. Ultra-processed food. High in sugar, seed oils, and chemicals your gut doesn't recognize. These trigger inflammation and destroy microbial balance. 2. Chronic stress. Stress changes gut permeability, leading to leaky gut, where toxins enter your bloodstream and trigger systemic inflammation. 3. Antibiotic overuse. Antibiotics wipe out good bacteria along with the bad, leaving your gut defenseless. 4. Sleep deprivation. Disrupts the gut's circadian rhythm, which impacts digestion, immunity, and neurotransmitter production. You can't outrun a broken gut. It will show up in your emotions, your energy, and your focus. How to rewire your gut-brain axis. Step 1. Eliminate irritants. Cut out ultra-processed foods. Minimize sugar. Avoid artificial sweeteners. Ditch seed oils. Step 2. Feed the good bacteria. Eat fermented foods. Kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir. Eat prebiotics, fiber-rich plants that feed your microbiome. Eat polyphenol-rich foods, blueberries, dark chocolate, green tea. Step 3. Manage stress daily. Breathe slowly. Walk. Limit screen time. Journal. Train your nervous system to downshift. Step 4. Sleep hard. No screen 90 minutes before bed. Cold, dark room. Consistent wake time. Gut repair happens during deep sleep. Don't sabotage it. Step 5. Move. Physical movement stimulates peristalsis, the wave-like contractions that keep digestion flowing. Stagnant body equals stagnant gut. Signs your gut is affecting your mind. If you're experiencing any of these regularly, the issue may not be mental, it may be microbial. Constant low mood, anxiety that hits without a trigger, chronic fatigue, brain fog, poor memory, bloating after eating, skin flare-ups. Your gut is screaming. Your brain is echoing the signal. Mood is a physical process. You're not broken. You're out of sync. Your emotions are chemical. Your focus is biological. Your energy is metabolic. And the gut is the foundation. Ignore it, and your mind suffers. Fix it, and your mind sharpens. This is not about six-pack abs. This is about mental clarity, mood stability, and cognitive firepower. You want to rewire your mind? Start with your stomach. You don't want to step in. That's the point. The water hits like a wall. Your breath catches. Your chest tightens. Every instinct screams, "Get out!" But you stay, and something shifts. This isn't about hygiene. It's not about toughness. It's about rewiring your nervous system to handle stress without collapsing. Cold exposure isn't just a physical reset. It's a mental revolution. What cold really does. When cold water hits your body, your system goes into shock. Your heart rate spikes. Your blood vessels constrict. Your brain activates the fight or flight response. But here's what matters. You're not in danger. You're choosing the discomfort. And that changes everything. Because by staying calm under artificial stress, you teach your nervous system how to hold the line when real stress comes. And this is stress inoculation. You're not just building tolerance. You're building control. The neurological effects. Cold exposure stimulates the vagus nerve, which regulates your parasympathetic nervous system. That's your calm recovery mode. Most people live in chronic sympathetic overdrive. Tense, reactive, overstimulated. Cold forces activation of both systems. Shock on the surface, calm beneath it. You're literally training your brain to shift from panic to presence. On command. You also get a natural dopamine spike. Not artificial, not shallow. Sustained and gradual. Often lasting hours. The result, sharper focus, reduced inflammation, elevated mood, improved stress response. What you're really training. Cold exposure is not about cold. It's about confrontation. You're choosing to override comfort. You're choosing to enter resistance. You're choosing not to flinch. That's what discipline is. When you step into the cold, you're stepping into a decision. And over time, that decision rewires your baseline. To act when it's uncomfortable. To move when you want to stall. To breathe when you want to panic. To stay when you want to escape. The shower becomes a dojo, and you leave sharper than you entered. The protocol. Start with 30 seconds. End your normal shower on full cold. No hesitation. No halfway. Breathe slowly. Do not gasp. Control the exhale. Slow, steady, dominant breathing tells the brain, I'm not in danger. Once that feels manageable, go to 1 minute, then 2, then 5. Consistency matters more than duration. Daily exposure creates neural change. Random exposure creates discomfort without adaptation. Don't chase extremism. Chase control. Mental benefits over time. After 30 days of cold exposure, most people report lower baseline anxiety, higher energy in the morning, sharper mental clarity, stronger discipline across unrelated tasks. Because the cold teaches the brain. Discomfort is not death. And once that lesson lands, everything else becomes easier. Hard conversations, early mornings, heavy workouts, focused work sessions. They stop feeling unmanageable, not because they changed, but because your capacity did. Common excuses. I hate the cold. That's why you need it. It's too painful. That's why it works. I'll start when I'm ready. You'll never be ready. That's the point. Cold resets your brain's addiction to comfort. It tells your system, we move now, whether we like it or not. That's a dangerous habit, and one most people will never develop. This is about identity. Every time you step into the cold, you're voting for the kind of person who acts without needing comfort, who stays calm in chaos, who doesn't flinch at pressure. You're programming a new standard, and after enough reps, you'll wake up one day, look in the mirror, and realize the person who used to hesitate is gone, replaced by someone who moves anyway. You can train, you can read, you can meditate, you can journal. But if your sleep is broken, your brain is too. Sleep isn't rest, it's reconstruction. It's where memory is stored. Habits are locked in. Emotions are processed. And your brain rewires itself for the next version of you. Ignore sleep, and everything else collapses. The architecture of sleep. Sleep isn't one state, it's a cycle. It moves through 4 primary stages. Stage 1, light sleep. Transitional, shallow, easy to wake. Stage 2, deeper light sleep. Heart rate slows, body temperature drops. Brain begins organizing information. Stage 3, deep sleep. This is when the body repairs. Growth hormone is released. Cells regenerate. Muscles recover. The immune system reboots. Stage 4, REM sleep. This is when you dream. The brain becomes electrically active. Emotional memories are processed. Creative insights are linked. Neural pathways are reinforced or pruned. This cycle repeats every 90 minutes. The first half of the night is deep sleep dominant. The second half is REM dominant. Both are essential. Miss one, and the system breaks. Neural rewiring happens at night. Every thought you think during the day, every skill you practice, every pattern you begin, is only halfway installed. The actual rewiring happens while you sleep. That's when the brain reviews, reorganizes, and encodes new circuits. No sleep equals no consolidation. No consolidation equals no change. This is why pulling an all-nighter destroys learning. It's why chronic insomnia tanks discipline. It's why people trying to change their lives without fixing their sleep burn out within weeks. The cost of sleep debt. Sleep deprivation isn't just about feeling tired. It affects every system. Cognitively, reaction time slows. Memory degrades. Problem-solving weakens. Emotional regulation collapses. Impulse control disappears. Physiologically, testosterone drops. Cortisol rises. Immune function weakens. Inflammation increases. Fat storage ramps up. One bad night, you'll feel it. 3 in a row, you're not you anymore. Sleep debt stacks, and it compounds. Common disruptors. Blue light at night, caffeine too late in the day, inconsistent sleep schedule, high cortisol from stress, alcohol, eating too close to bedtime. These may seem small, but they destroy sleep architecture. They fragment cycles. They reduce deep sleep. They shorten REM, and the brain never fully resets. It's not just about how long you sleep. It's about how well you move through the architecture. How to optimize sleep for neural rewiring. Step 1, regularity. Sleep and wake at the same time every day, even on weekends. Your circadian rhythm depends on consistency. Step 2. Darkness. Blackout curtains. No screens 1 hour before bed. No bright overhead lights after sunset. Light exposure dictates melatonin production. Treat light like a drug, because it is. Step 3. Temperature. Cool room. Around 18 degrees Celsius. Drop your core body temperature to fall asleep faster and reach deeper sleep. Step 4. Timing. Cut caffeine 8 hours before bed. Stop eating 2 to 3 hours before sleep. Use the morning for movement and sunlight. Anchor your rhythm early. Step 5. Wind down. Lower stimulation gradually. Breathing, reading, reflection. No dopamine spikes before bed. You're preparing for internal repair, not external stimulation. Sleep and identity. You cannot rewire your identity without sleep. It's the glue that binds effort to outcome. It's the stage where the new you gets installed. During the day, you input. During the night, your brain decides what stays. It deletes the noise and reinforces the signal. If you treat sleep like a luxury, you will never reach your potential. If you treat it like a weapon, you will recover faster, think clearer, and act stronger than anyone around you. Final calibration. Your brain is not a machine, it's a garden. And sleep is the gardener. It pulls weeds, it waters growth. It decides which roots deepen and which ones die. If you want to rewire your mind, build your body, develop skill, and hold focus, you must start where all change begins and ends. In the dark, in silence, while the world shuts down, your future self is being programmed. Don't miss the download. Try this. Take a deep breath. Now hold it. Time slows. Pressure builds. You feel your heart. Your body tightens. Your mind starts screaming. Breathe. Now. But you don't. You stay calm. You hold. That moment, between panic and control, is where your nervous system is tested and trained. This is the breath hold reflex. And mastering it rewires your relationship to fear, impulse, and control. What is the breath hold reflex? It's a primal signal. When oxygen drops and carbon dioxide rises, the brain interprets it as danger. The survival system activates. Heart rate rises, muscles tense, thoughts speed up, panic approaches. But here's the truth. You're not dying. You're just uncomfortable. And that gap between perceived threat and actual danger is exactly where control is built. The science behind it. When you hold your breath, two major things happen. CO2 builds, triggering the urge to breathe. Oxygen decreases, testing your metabolic efficiency. But here's what's misunderstood. It's not lack of oxygen that triggers panic. It's excess carbon dioxide. The body can actually function with low oxygen longer than you think. It's the rising CO2 that creates mental urgency. If you train your brain to stay calm while CO2 rises, you reduce panic. You raise resilience. You take back control from instinct. Why this trains the mind? The breath hold is not just a physical exercise. It's a psychological dojo. It teaches you to stay calm under pressure, override reactive impulses, expand your stress threshold, separate signal from noise. You learn the difference between real threat and false alarm. And most of your life is filled with false alarms. The breath hold rewires your nervous system to stop flinching, to observe discomfort without submitting to it. Tactical use cases. 1. Anxiety control. Use it when your heart races. Exhale fully. Hold. Let the CO2 rise. Train your brain to associate the sensation with calm, not chaos. 2. Focus calibration. Before deep work, breathe in, exhale, hold. Come back to stillness. Then begin. It signals the brain. Distraction is over. 3. Panic training. Create controlled stress on your terms. Hold your breath after movement. Let the body feel tension. Then stay mentally still. You're not avoiding stress, you're mastering it. The protocol. Start simple. Take a full inhale. Exhale naturally. Hold your breath on empty lungs. Time it. At first, you'll make 20 to 30 seconds. That's enough. You're not chasing performance. You're chasing control. Over time, increase to 60, 90, then 120 seconds. Always with calm, always with intention. Practice daily, 2 or 3 rounds. Always seated, never near water. Safety first, control always. Long-term benefits. Greater CO2 tolerance, lower resting heart rate, reduced anxiety, increased mental composure, improved breath control under pressure. But more importantly, you become someone who doesn't panic at the first sign of pressure. You train the signal that says, this is dangerous, to wait, to listen, to be verified. You don't just react. You decide. Identity through breath. Every time you hold your breath, you're holding the line against reactivity. You're telling your mind, I lead, you follow. That's leadership. That's composure. That's power. And no one can give it to you. You earn it, breath by breath, hold by hold, fight by calm fight. Your nervous system doesn't need to be ruled by panic. It can be forged into steel. Still, silent, certain. All you need is breath and the discipline to hold it. Habits run your life, not goals, not motivation, not willpower. You are a system of loops. Cue, craving, response, reward. Over and over again. You feel the urge, you follow the script, you get the hit. It happens so fast, you don't notice the choice. That's the problem. And that's the entry point. You don't need more discipline. You need to break the loop, right where it begins. What is a pattern? Interrupt. A pattern interrupt is exactly what it sounds like. A conscious disruption of an unconscious behavior. It's a psychological sledgehammer. You see the habit forming, and you sever the link. Not with force, with redirection. Because once you interrupt the loop, you create a crack in the system. And in that crack, you insert a new choice. The habit loop explained. Every habit has 4 stages. Cue, something triggers the behavior. Craving, you anticipate the reward. Response, you take action. Reward, you feel the payoff. Example, cue, you feel stressed. Craving, you want relief. Response, you scroll or eat. Reward, you feel distracted or comforted. The loop completes. The circuit strengthens. Repeat it enough, and it runs without you. You need to interrupt it before the response locks in. Where the power lives. The power is in the space between cue and response. That moment when you reach for your phone, without thinking. That split second when you open the fridge, out of boredom. That instant when you go from feeling low to chasing stimulation. Right there, you insert the interrupt. How to build a pattern interrupt. Step 1. Identify your top 3 destructive loops. Write them down. What triggers them? What emotion drives them? What behavior always follows? Step 2. Design the break. Choose a disruptive action that interrupts the loop, something fast, physical, concrete. Examples: say stop out loud, clap your hands once, stand up and change location. Take 10 slow breaths, splash cold water on your face, snap a rubber band on your wrist, drop and do 5 push-ups. You're shocking the system. You're resetting the script. Step 3. Replace, don't remove. You can't remove a habit. You can only replace it. Interrupt the loop, then offer a new behavior. Something aligned with who you want to become. Instead of scrolling, walk. Instead of sugar, hydrate. Instead of numbing, breathe. Repetition wires it in. The 3-second rule. The interrupt must be deployed within 3 seconds of the cue. If you hesitate, the old habit locks in. Speed is control. The faster you break it, the weaker the loop becomes. You're not fighting the habit. You're cutting the signal before it completes. Make it automatic. At first, the interrupt feels forced, unnatural, but with repetition, it becomes instinct. The moment the urge appears, the pattern breaks itself. The brain starts associating the old cue with a new path, and over time, the old behavior fades. You can't destroy a habit by thinking about it. You destroy it by acting on it. Rewiring identity through disruption. Each pattern you break is a vote for a new identity. You're not just stopping a bad behavior. You're proving, I'm the kind of person who doesn't run from discomfort. I'm the kind of person who chooses the harder path. I don't operate on autopilot anymore. Interrupts are micro acts of rebellion. Against the old you. Against the system that trapped you. Each one sharpens control. Each one reshapes the loop. Final calibration. You can't will your way into a new life. You have to interrupt your way there. Interrupt the scroll. Interrupt the snack. Interrupt the escape. Interrupt the voice that says, it's just one more time. Because it's not. It's a vote, a wire, a loop being trained. Break it, redirect it, repeat it, until the old pattern dies and the new one becomes automatic. Every day you face a moment, tiny, forgettable, critical, a choice appears. You feel the impulse, you hesitate, and in that pause, you lose. You scroll instead of starting. You delay instead of deciding. You retreat instead of rising. But what if you had a rule? Not for perfection, not for motivation, but for action? The 3-second rule is that rule. The premise. If you don't act on a decision within 3 seconds, your brain will kill it. The mind is wired for efficiency, not growth, not courage. Efficiency, that means it favors the known, the loop, the shortcut. When an action requires discomfort and your brain tries to abort, and it only needs one thing to win: hesitation. The science of hesitation. Here's what happens when you hesitate. A thought emerges. I should do it. The limbic system scans for threat. Discomfort triggers avoidance. You delay. The prefrontal cortex weakens. The old pattern takes over. You default to safety. Again. You didn't lack discipline. You gave hesitation too much room. The 3-second rule closes the gap. It removes the negotiation and forces motion before fear can take the wheel. The rule. The rule is simple. When you know the right action, you move within 3 seconds. Not perfectly. Not all the way. Just enough to break inertia. Feel the resistance. Move anyway. No debate, no internal poll, no story. Move. Where it applies. Getting out of bed. Approaching someone. Starting your workout. Closing the app. Making the call. Sitting down to work. Speaking the truth. Saying no. Saying yes. Facing what you avoid. The moment appears. The voice says, go. You move, and that's it. Why it works. Because it bypasses the part of your brain designed to talk you out of growth. 3 seconds isn't random. It's the window before analysis hijacks instinct. You're not giving your fear a platform. You're acting before the survival system takes over. You don't need courage. You need movement. How to practice it. Step 1. Awareness. Identify the moments you usually hesitate. Map them. Name them. Catch them. Step 2. Pre-commit. Decide in advance. When this moment comes, I move. Step 3. Anchor it. Count down silently. 3, 2, 1. Move. The count shifts your brain from thought to action. It disrupts the delay. It resets the pattern. Step 4. Reinforce it. After every rep, log it. Write, I moved. I acted. I didn't flinch. Track the identity you're installing. What it's not. It's not a hack. It's not a cheat code. It's not about faking confidence. It's a micro-ritual of domination over your hesitation, over your excuses, over the voice that wants you weak. The long-term shift. After weeks of using the rule, your nervous system begins to recalibrate. Fear signals shrink. Doubt quiets. Movement becomes instinct. You stop waiting. You stop spiraling. You start moving. Without permission. Without hype. Without delay. And suddenly you become the kind of person who acts while others hesitate, who moves when others freeze, who builds while others think. 3 seconds, that's the difference. You keep trying to overhaul your life, massive goals, extreme routines, radical discipline, and every time, it breaks. Why? Because your system can't handle the weight. Big change doesn't come from big effort. It comes from small habits, repeated, stacked, and locked in. This is the system. Micro-habit stacking. You start tiny. You stack smart. You rewire permanently. The myth of the big leap. Most people burn out because they confuse motivation with infrastructure. They start with 10 new habits at once. They overhaul everything: food, sleep, training, work, mindset, then collapse under the pressure. It's not that they can't change. It's that they're trying to build a skyscraper without laying bricks. Micro habits are the bricks, and stacking is the structure. What is a micro habit? A micro habit is a behavior so small, it's almost impossible to fail. 1 push-up, 1 sentence, 1 deep breath, 1 glass of water, 1 page, 1 minute. It sounds insignificant. That's the point. It bypasses resistance. It makes consistency inevitable, and consistency rewires behavior. Why micro works? Because habits are not just actions, they're identity votes. Every rep says, I'm the kind of person who does this. Small reps add up. They shape your self-concept. They build neural pathways. They remove friction. Over time, the micro becomes automatic, and the automatic becomes identity. How stacking works. Habit stacking means chaining micro-actions to existing behaviors. You don't build habits in isolation. You link them. Here's the formula. After I current habit, I will new micro-habit. Example. After I brush my teeth, I will stretch for 30 seconds. After I make coffee, I will write one sentence. After I check my calendar, I will take one deep breath. The cue is already there. You're attaching a new pattern to the old one. No extra motivation needed, just anchoring. The system. Step 1. List your anchors. Identify daily habits you already do, no matter what. Waking up, brushing teeth, making food, unlocking your phone. Step 2. Choose one goal. Start with one area. Health, focus, mindset, skill. What identity do you want to build? Step 3. Design one micro-habit. Make it so small it feels ridiculous. So easy it feels beneath you. That's how you know it's the right size. Step 4. Stack it to the anchor. Attach the habit to something you already do. Write the trigger. Commit. Step 5. Repeat daily. No exceptions. You're not chasing intensity. You're chasing installation. No skipping, no upgrades. Master the small before you go big. Common mistakes. Mistake 1. Going too big too early. You add too much weight too soon. You break the loop. Mistake 2. Lack of clarity. Eat better is not a habit. Add one vegetable to lunch is. Mistake 3. Stacking onto unstable habits. Don't anchor to something you don't do consistently. Build on the solid, not the shifting. Mistake 4. Skipping when life gets hard. The habit must survive chaos. That's why it must be small. Why this changes everything. Because once you install 5 to 10 micro habits, your baseline changes. You're not trying to become disciplined. You are disciplined. Not because you feel like it, but because you act like it without thinking. That's when change sticks. That's when identity locks in. That's when results compound. Final installation. Big change is seductive, but it's unreliable. Micro is boring, but it's permanent. The ones who win long-term aren't the ones who sprint. They're the ones who never break the chain. So don't add pressure. Add consistency. One breath, one line, one representative, one layer at a time, until the system becomes identity and the identity becomes inevitable. Every habit you have, good or bad, runs on a loop. It starts with a cue. It builds a craving. It triggers a response. It delivers a reward. Cue, craving, response, reward. This is the Rewire formula. If you understand it, you can break any habit, build any behavior, reconstruct any part of yourself. The habit loop explained. Let's break it down. Cue, the trigger, the thing that starts the loop, a time, a place, a feeling, a situation. It tells your brain something is about to happen. Craving, the internal desire, not for the habit, but for the feeling it brings. You don't crave the cigarette. You crave relief. You don't crave the scroll. You crave escape. You don't crave the snack. You crave stimulation. Response, the behavior, the action you take, automatic. Fast. Familiar. Reward, the payoff, the chemical satisfaction. It completes the loop. It tells your brain, this worked. Remember it. Over time, that loop becomes hardwired. But anything hardwired can be rewired. Why willpower doesn't work. You keep trying to fight the habit at the response level. You try to stop yourself mid-action. It rarely works. Why? Because by the time you reach the response, the loop is already active. You don't need more willpower. You need to target the earlier stages. The cue and the craving. That's where real control lives. Step 1. Identify the cue. Ask yourself, what's triggering this behavior? Is it a time of day, a location, an emotional state, a social situation? Track it. Every time the habit shows up, write down where you are, what you're feeling, and what just happened. Patterns will emerge. That's your cue data. Now you know where the loop begins. Step 2. Expose the craving. Most people think they crave the behavior itself. They don't. They crave the emotional shift it provides. The scroll gives distraction. The food gives comfort. The avoidance gives relief. Ask, what am I actually seeking here? What am I trying to change in my state? Name the craving. Label the emotion. Own the real motive. Step 3. Interrupt the response. This is where the behavior fires. But now you have leverage. You know the cue. You know the craving. So you create a new response. That delivers the same reward, but through a different action. Example: the cue, stress at work. Craving, escape. Old response, social media. New response, walk for 2 minutes. The loop completes. The craving is addressed. But the behavior is now constructive. That's a rewired circuit. Step 4. Reinforce the reward. Every time you complete the new loop, celebrate it. Log it. Anchor it. Your brain learns through emotion. If the new reward is associated with success, relief, or clarity, the pathway strengthens. This is how identity installs, not through force, through consistent reinforcement of a new reward path. Advanced layer. Make bad habits ugly. If you want to break a loop faster, make the reward less satisfying. Add friction. Make the action harder. Make it embarrassing. Make it public. The goal is to weaken the brain's association between the response and the payoff. Eventually, the craving fades because the reward no longer delivers. The loop collapses. Rewire example. Let's rewire a classic loop. Old loop: cue, wake up. Craving, stimulation. Response, grab phone. Reward, dopamine hit. New loop: cue, wake up. Craving, stimulation. Response, cold water to the face. Reward, instant alertness, no guilt. Stack this loop daily. Track it, reinforce it. Soon the phone won't even feel like the default, because the circuit will have changed. Final installation. Your brain is not wired for freedom. It's wired for loops. If you don't control the loop controls you. But if you control the cue, reframe the craving, redirect the response, and anchor the reward. You don't just break habits. You build systems. You install identity. You rewire reality. One loop at a time. You think you need motivation. You think you need to feel different first. You think change starts with belief. It doesn't. Change starts with proof. You don't become disciplined by saying you are. You become disciplined by doing one disciplined thing and repeating it. That action becomes evidence. Evidence becomes identity. Identity becomes behavior. This is how real transformation happens. Not by overhauling who you are, but by shifting the smallest pieces of who you believe yourself to be. These are atomic identity shifts. Tiny, strategic, permanent. Why identity runs everything. You always act in alignment with who you believe you are. If you believe you're lazy, you'll act lazy, even when you try not to. If you believe you're inconsistent, you'll sabotage discipline, even with the best intentions. The strongest force in your mind is the desire to stay consistent with your self-image. That's why behavior change fails. You're trying to change action without changing identity. Belief follows behavior. Here's the real shift. Identity doesn't create action. Action creates identity. You don't need to believe you're confident to act confident. You need to act confident once, then again, and eventually the brain stops saying, "I'm faking it," and starts saying, "This is just who I am." Belief isn't required up front, just movement. Repeated, deliberately. That's how the new identity takes hold. The atomic model. Here's the system. 1. Choose the identity. Be specific. Not better, not successful. Try, I'm a focused person. I'm someone who keeps promises. I'm someone who trains every day. 2. Define the proof. What is the smallest action that proves this identity? 1 breath, 1 decision. 1 task, 1 representative. 3. Log the evidence. Track it daily. Don't track perfection, track proof. Every action is a vote. You're voting for the new self. 4. Repeat until automatic. Until you no longer have to say it. Because you live it. The power of small shifts. Change doesn't require drama. It doesn't require some cinematic rock bottom. It requires micro decisions that accumulate into a new way of being. 1 push-up makes you a person who trains. 1 glass of water makes you a person who hydrates. 1 refusal makes you a person who says no to weakness. 1 honest conversation makes you someone who speaks the truth. The change isn't the size of the act. It's the weight of what it proves. How to install a new identity. Step 1. Audit the old identity. What are the I am statements you say to yourself? I'm bad with money. I'm not consistent. I always quit. Catch them. Write them down. Destroy them. Step 2. Choose 1 new I am. Make it actionable. Make it visible. Not a dream. A standard. Step 3. Design the proof habit. Make it stupidly small. Something you can execute daily with 0 resistance. Step 4. Stack wins. Each time you act in alignment, say it to yourself. I am this now. No self-help hype, just quiet confirmation. This is how confidence is built. You don't fake confidence. You earn it by acting in ways that prove you are who you say you are. You show up, you do the work, you don't skip the reps. Even when no one's watching, that's not discipline. That's identity. And once it installs, you no longer fight yourself. You no longer negotiate. You just execute. Because this is who you are now. Final lock-in. Don't try to change everything. Choose 1 identity. Prove it with 1 action. Repeat it every day. Let the brain catch up. Let the behavior speak louder than belief. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to remember who you are and cast enough votes to make it undeniable. You sit down to learn. You open the book, or the course, or the notes. Within minutes, you're distracted, unfocused, burnt out. It's not a discipline problem. It's not a motivation issue. It's a load issue. Your brain has limited bandwidth. If you overwhelm it, nothing sticks. That's what cognitive load theory explains. And once you understand it, you can learn anything faster, deeper, and more permanently. The brain's RAM. Your working memory is like RAM on a computer. It holds a few pieces of information at a time. It processes, manipulates, and transfers them to long-term memory. If there's space, too much at once, it crashes. The learning fails. Not because you didn't try, but because your system hit capacity. That's cognitive load. The amount of mental effort being used in the moment. And most people overload it without knowing. The 3 types of cognitive load. 1. Intrinsic load, the difficulty of the task itself. Complex math, foreign grammar, coding logic. Some subjects are naturally heavy. You can't remove the weight, but you can manage it. 2. Extraneous load, the distractions, the clutter, the way the info is presented. Unclear slides, noisy environments, multitasking, poor explanations. This is wasted load, and it's the easiest to eliminate. 3. Germane load, the effort you want. The energy used for actually learning, processing, encoding. Your goal is simple: minimize extraneous, manage intrinsic, maximize germane. That's how you hack learning. Why most study fails. People overload their working memory with multitasking, long study sessions without breaks, trying to learn from chaotic sources, not chunking information, studying without purpose or direction. The result? They read pages, watch videos, take notes, but none of it transfers to long-term memory. They confuse consumption with retention. They think they're learning. They're not. The fix: how to hack the load. Step 1. Cut the clutter. Only study one topic at a time. No background noise, no split screens, no trying to just get through it. The brain doesn't reward volume. It rewards clarity. Step 2. Break it into chunks. Never study for an hour straight. Break content into small units, 20 minutes max. Pause, reflect, recap. Working memory empties during breaks. That's when transfer happens. Step 3. Use dual coding. Pair words with visuals. Listen and read. Draw and speak. Different inputs help encode information across multiple brain pathways. More routes equals better retention. Step 4. Apply immediately. If you don't use it, you lose it. Explain it. Teach it. Apply it in a problem. Learning ends when the concept leaves the page and enters your own output. That's when it gets stored. Upgrade the environment. Every distraction adds load, even subtle ones. Fix your environment. Single task. Low stimulation. No notifications. Tidy desk. Purposeful breaks. Your brain doesn't need hype. It needs space. Long-term retention strategy. Space your learning. Review over time, not all at once. Mix up practice types: recall, solve, teach, write. Sleep well. That's when consolidation happens. Interleave subjects. Don't cram one concept endlessly. Alternate. And always ask, how heavy is this load right now? If it's too high, simplify. If it's too easy, challenge it. Find the balance. Then stay there long enough to lock it in. Final installation. You're not failing to learn. You're failing to manage load. Optimize the task. Simplify the input. Respect your working memory. Focus on structure over strain. Because once you stop flooding your brain, you'll find something surprising. You're not overwhelmed. You're capable. You're fast. You're sharp. You just needed the bandwidth to prove it. You watch, you scroll, you listen, you absorb. Every headline, every opinion, every voice, every piece of content feeds your brain, and your brain doesn't filter for truth. It filters for repetition. The more you consume, the more you become. This is your mental diet, and it's reshaping you, with or without your permission. The truth about input. The average person consumes over 34 gigabytes of content a day. That's the equivalent of reading 100,000 words every single day. Most of it is reactive, low quality, dramatic, fear-based, shallow. And then you wonder why you feel scattered, anxious, and unmotivated. It's not a mystery. It's your media nutrition. Your brain is plastic. Neuroplasticity means your brain rewires based on what it experiences. What you see, you remember. What you hear, you internalize. What you repeat, you become. The mind can't help it. It doesn't just store input, it models it. You imitate tone, attitude, beliefs, and thought patterns from everything you expose yourself to. You are always being programmed. The only question is, by who? What a bad mental diet looks like. Constant social media scrolls, reaction videos, sensational news, celebrity gossip, outrage content, background noise, passive consumption. These don't just waste time. They teach your brain chaos. They normalize short attention. They reward low-effort thinking. They distort reality. And every time you consume them, you reinforce the internal model. This is what the world is. This is what I focus on. This is who I am. What a clean mental diet feels like. Long-form books. Deep conversations. Focused podcasts. Nature. Silence. Reflection. Strategic thinking. These inputs are slower, harder, less addictive, but they feed the mind with clarity, with depth, with strength. They don't hype you up. They build you up. Clean up the feed. Step 1. Audit everything you consume. For one day, write it all down. Every application, every video, every song, and every conversation. Ask, does this build me? Does this drain me? Does this align with who I want to become? Step 2. Unsubscribe aggressively. Unfollow what doesn't serve. Block what poisons. Mute what wastes your focus. Step 3. Curate your mind like you curate your body. Choose inputs that elevate. Rewatch what inspires. Reread what challenges. Revisit what sharpens. This is not about quitting tech. It's about controlling tech. You are the gatekeeper now. Rewire through input. Want to be more focused? Watch focused people. Listen to focused thinkers. Immerse in content that requires presence. Want to be more disciplined? Surround yourself, physically or digitally, with people who are relentless. Absorb the tone. Absorb the language. Absorb the posture. Your brain copies what it sees, so show it something worth copying. Build your new feed. Make a new environment deliberately. Every day ask, what did I feed my mind today? What emotion did that content train into me? Would I be okay becoming the kind of person who created what I just consumed? If the answer is no, cut it. No mercy. Your mind is not a dumpster. It's a command center. Treat it like one. Final lock-in. You don't get the mind you want by hoping for clarity. You get it by installing clarity. Input is installation. Repetition is reinforcement. What you consume, you become. So guard the gates. Curate the feed. Choose your influences with precision, because once your mental diet cleans up, your decisions improve, your focus sharpens, your self-image upgrades, and your mind becomes the strongest ally you've ever had. Overthinking isn't deep thinking. It's stalled thinking. It's mental clutter pretending to be caution. It looks like analysis, but it's actually paralysis. You loop, you second guess, you delay, and nothing moves. But overthinking isn't your nature. It's your lack of structure. Your brain wasn't built to hold chaos. It was built to run models. Mental models are frameworks, shortcuts for clear thinking. And once installed, they cut through noise, reduce stress, and make decision-making fast, clean, and confident. What is a mental model? A mental model is a tool for understanding how something works. It's not the thought itself. It's the structure that holds the thought. Think of it like a mental operating system. You input a problem. The model runs. You get clarity. No spiraling. No what-if tunnels. No decision fatigue. Just signal. No noise. Why most people spiral? They try to think through everything from scratch. Every problem feels new. Every scenario feels personal. Every choice feels overwhelming. They don't have models. They have emotion. And emotion is a terrible strategist. You don't need more time. You need better tools. Core mental models for clarity. 1. First principles thinking. Strip the problem down to its core parts. Ignore assumptions. Ask, what do I know is absolutely true? What am I assuming that might be false? If I had to build this from zero, what would I do? This removes inherited thinking. It gets you to truth. Fast. Segunda inversion. Instead of asking how to succeed, ask, how could I absolutely fail? Then avoid those things. Flip the problem. Clarity lives in the reverse. 3. 80-20 rule, Pareto principle. 80% of results come from 20% of actions. Ask, what's the vital few? What's the trivial many? Where's the leverage? This eliminates wasteful thinking. You stop trying to solve everything and focus on what actually moves the needle. 4th, second-order thinking. Don't just ask, what happens next? Ask, and then what? What's the long-term consequence? This prevents you from solving short-term problems with long-term costs. 5. Occam's razor. Simplest explanation is usually correct. Stop adding layers. Cut the complexity. Default to simplicity unless proven otherwise. When to deploy models. Every time you feel stuck, spinning, scattered, uncertain, pause. Pick a model. Run the system. Don't try to untangle the web emotionally. Structure it logically. The model gives you rails. Follow them. Make the decision. Move. The model mindset. Mental models aren't one-time tools. They're default settings. They shape how you see every problem. Great thinkers don't rely on willpower. They rely on structure. And the structure thinks for them. You want clarity? Install systems. Use models. Because your raw mind is emotional, but your trained mind is strategic. How to train mental models. Step 1. Study them. Read decision makers. Study problem solvers. Absorb the frameworks they use. Step 2. Apply in real life. Every decision becomes a representative. Treat life like a lab. Practice the thinking before you need it under pressure. Step 3. Reflect. After a decision, ask, which model did I use? What worked? What didn't? You don't need hundreds of models. You need 5 to 10 sharp ones. Master them. Final lock-in. You don't eliminate overthinking by thinking harder. You eliminate it by thinking better. Install structure. Use models. Cut through noise. Because clarity isn't magic. It's engineered. And when your mind runs on the right frameworks, decisions get easier, actions get faster, and overthinking dies in silence. It's found in friction, tension, stress, pressure. But not all discomfort is created equal. Some discomfort breaks you. Some discomfort builds you. This is the difference. Deliberate discomfort is chosen, controlled, engineered, used. It doesn't just make you tougher. It rewires your nervous system. It transforms your identity. It redefines what you call normal. The physiology of discomfort. Discomfort activates your sympathetic nervous system, your stress response. Your body says, "This is hard. This is dangerous. Run." But when you stay present, when you breathe, stay calm, and complete the action, your brain adapts. The stress doesn't go away. You get stronger, and the response changes. The same trigger that used to cause panic now activates composure. That's rewiring. Why most people stay stuck? Because they only do what they're used to. They seek comfort, then wonder why they stay soft. They want change, but reject tension. They avoid fear, then worship those who walked through it. You don't rise by removing discomfort. You rise by using it. Deliberately, repeatedly, strategically. Discomfort is a rewiring tool. Think of discomfort like a mental gym. Each rep builds a new response: resistance, action, fear, breath, pain, focus, fatigue, composure. These are circuits, and the only way to install them is to run them under pressure. No stimulus equals no adaptation. No friction equals no identity shift. Deliberate versus chaotic pain. Deliberate discomfort is intentional. You choose it. You prepare for it. You enter it on your terms. Examples: cold showers, fasting, hard workouts, difficult conversations, silence, saying no, showing up under fear. You're not drowning in pain. You're training in it. This isn't self-destruction. It's self-construction. How to build the protocol. Step 1. Choose the edge. Pick something that triggers resistance, but is within your control. Step 2. Define the frequency, not once a month. Daily, weekly, scheduled. Step 3. Pair it with intention. Don't just do it. Know why you're doing it. I'm training my mind to stay calm under pressure. I'm proving I can show up when it hurts. I'm shifting my standard. Step 4. Recover with awareness. This isn't about burnout. This is about adaptation. You break, then you rebuild stronger. What happens over time? Stress tolerance increases. Emotional reactivity drops. Self-respect rises. Impulses weaken. Delayed gratification strengthens. Your threshold expands. And most importantly, your identity changes. You become the kind of person who does what others avoid, who moves through fear, who doesn't need life to be easy to execute. That's dangerous. That's rare. That's earned. Final installation. Discomfort isn't the enemy. It's the sculptor. It cuts away the weakness. It exposes the signal beneath the noise. It reveals who you could be if you stopped hiding behind comfort. So don't fear the friction. Find it, enter it, use it, and when it hits, don't ask, how do I escape this? Ask, what circuit is being rewired right now? You forget things, you lose focus, you feel slower, foggy, unmotivated, and you think, something's wrong with me. But it's not decline, it's stagnation. Your brain is plastic. It adapts, sharpens, and accelerates, only when challenged. This is where neurobics come in. Not puzzles, not brain games, not apps. Real physical, cognitive, and sensory exercises that shock your brain out of routine and force it to wake up. What are neurobics? Neurobics are mental workouts designed to stimulate the brain in new ways. By combining multiple senses, movements, and attention pathways. Think of it like cross-training for your nervous system. You're not just thinking, you're forcing unfamiliar connections. And unfamiliarity equals rewiring. Why routine kills? Neuroplasticity. The brain craves efficiency. It builds grooves, neural pathways, for everything you repeat. The more automated your life becomes, the less your brain has to work. You move through the day half asleep. Wake. Same path. Same actions. Same media. The loop tightens. The brain goes idle. Neurobics disrupt that loop. They throw sparks into the system. And those sparks reboot the synapses. The key principle, novelty plus attention. Neurobics only work when the activity is new. You're paying full attention. You're engaging multiple senses or breaking dominant patterns. It's not about difficulty. It's about unfamiliarity. The weirder, the better. The more awkward, the more effective. Examples of neurobic exercises. 1. Brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand. You'll feel clumsy. That's the point. New neural pathways equal stronger synapses. 2. Walk backward for 1 minute in a safe space. It disrupts movement automation. Requires full body awareness and focus. 3. Change your route. To work, to the gym, to anywhere. New environments equals new input equals brain activation. 5. Eat with your eyes closed. Force your senses to compensate. Heighten smell, texture, temperature. 5. Learn basic sign language. You engage movement, memory, and abstract thinking simultaneously. 6. Read aloud. Engages sight, sound, rhythm, and language comprehension. 7. Flip your phone's interface upside down for 10 minutes. Creates immediate disruption. Your brain scrambles to reorient. 8. Name 10 objects you see and feel their texture. Visual, tactile, linguistic. Forces present moment awareness. Daily 5-minute protocol. Pick one neurobic task. Do it slowly, with attention. Feel the awkwardness. Notice how it shifts your focus. Repeat daily. Rotate weekly. This is not about mastery. It's about confusion. Because confusion creates adaptation. What happens over time? Sharper sensory awareness. Faster cognitive response. Greater attention control. Increased creativity. Reduced mental fatigue. Rejuvenated neuroplasticity. This isn't speculation. Studies show consistent neurobic training can delay cognitive decline, boost memory, and accelerate mental processing. It's the neurological version of waking up muscles you forgot existed. Final installation. You're not slow. You're not broken. You're running old code on autopilot. Disrupt it. Shake the system. Force the brain to reorient. Because when you break the pattern, you build the path. And when your brain has to adapt, it doesn't get weaker. It gets sharper. So don't wait for decline. Train your brain now. One strange, awkward, powerful exercise at a time. Everything around you is engineered for chaos. Infinite tabs, endless noise, breaking news, open loops, constant pings. Your attention is fragmented. Your focus is drained. Your clarity is drowned in distraction. You can't escape the world, but you can become untouchable within it. That's the monastic mindset. Stillness without isolation. Discipline without dogma. Focus without needing silence. It's not about becoming a monk. It's about thinking like one dash in the middle of a battlefield. What is the monastic mindset? It's a way of thinking, a way of being. You protect your inputs. You control your inner state. You simplify your priorities. You live in deliberate structure. You treat your attention like a scarce resource. In a chaotic world, this mindset makes you lethal, focused, clear, unshakable. Why the world won't help you? The system profits when you're distracted. When you scroll, react, consume, compare, you're easier to control, easier to sell to, easier to manipulate. The more stimulation you tolerate, the less power you have. This is not just digital hygiene. It's spiritual warfare. It's attention warfare. And your mind is the territory. Principles of the monastic mindset. 1. Inner stillness over outer silence. You won't always have peace outside, but you can train presence inside. That means controlling your breath, observing your thoughts, not reacting to every emotion, not chasing every noise. Stillness is a skill. Build it daily. 2. Choose your inputs with precision. Don't just consume less. Consume deliberately. One great book is better than 50 shallow videos. One focused conversation is worth more than a week of group chat noise. Ask, would I be proud to become like what I'm consuming? If the answer is no, cut it. 3. Master simple routines. Monks don't waste energy on chaos. They simplify. They ritualize. You don't need 20 tools. You need one clean workflow. You don't need a perfect schedule. You need sacred, focused blocks. Clarity thrives in structure. Creativity follows discipline. 4. Treat your time like a temple. If you don't guard it, others will vandalize it. No open calendars, no endless replies, no reactive multitasking. Your hours are sacred. Act like it. 5. Practice voluntary solitude. Not loneliness. Solitude. Time alone. No phone. No stimulation. Just you, your breath, and your thoughts. This is where real thinking happens. This is where noise dies. This is where clarity is born. How to build it practically. Step 1. Set non-negotiables. 1 block per day. No inputs, no noise, no interruption. This is your mental monastery. Step 2. Build attention rituals. Start your day with silence. Breathe before you open your phone. Journal before you react to the world. These are anchors. They reset the nervous system. They center your attention. Step 3. Eliminate background chaos. Notifications, autoplay, group chats. Cut them. All of them. You don't need more willpower. You need less temptation. Step 4. Rehearse stillness under pressure. When life gets loud, slow your breath. Observe without reacting. Train your mind to pause, even when the world speeds up. That's monk mode. In motion. What you become. Focused when others flinch. Calm when others panic. Sharp when others spiral. Strategic when others scatter. You stop being emotionally hijacked. You stop being dragged by dopamine loops. You stop outsourcing your peace. You become still, and that stillness becomes a weapon. Final installation. You don't need a temple. You don't need robes. You don't need silence. You need a vow. To protect your mind, to train your focus, to build stillness that survives chaos. Because the world won't get quieter, but your mind can. And when it does, you stop reacting. You start leading. And the world bends around your presence. You're completely immersed. No resistance, no hesitation. Time distorts. The voice in your head goes quiet, and you move like everything is already decided. That's flow. And it's not mystical. It's neurological and trainable. What is flow? Flow is the peak state of human performance. It's what elite athletes, world-class artists, and elite thinkers chase. Not for fun, but because it's where results happen fastest. Technically, flow is a neurochemical cocktail. Dopamine, norepinephrine, endorphins, anandamide. Your brain floods itself with the perfect chemicals to shut down overthinking and enter direct execution. The prefrontal cortex, your inner critic, goes offline, and the rest of your brain lights up like a superhighway. But you don't need to be a genius to access this state. You just need to build the conditions. The flow triggers. You can't try to enter flow, but you can create an environment that makes it inevitable. There are 5 core triggers. 1. Clear goals. Your brain needs to know exactly what it's doing. Ambiguity kills flow. Clarity activates it. 2. Immediate feedback. You need real-time correction. This is why sports, music, and writing pull you in. You know instantly if it's working. 3rd challenge, skill balance. Flow lives between boredom and overwhelm. You need tasks that stretch you, but don't break you. Too easy equals disengaged. Too hard, anxious. 4. Deep focus. Multitasking destroys flow. Flow is single-task immersion. No distractions. No interruptions. Just task plus time. 5th, risk, mental, physical, or emotional. There must be something at stake. That's what keeps the brain alert. It doesn't need to be danger. It can be creative risk, social risk, or even time pressure. Entering flow on command. Here's how to build a repeatable entry ritual. Cut off all distraction. Phone off. Tabs closed. Noise eliminated. You need a protected space. Set a 90-minute block. This is the sweet spot. Long enough for full immersion. Short enough to avoid burnout. Start with a micro-win. Do one easy task in the first 2 minutes. It tells your brain, I'm making progress. That momentum primes the state. Focus on the process, not outcome. Flow dies when you chase the end. You have to love the doing, the mechanics, the rhythm. Use a pre-flow anchor, a consistent sound, breath pattern, or phrase before you start. Over time, your brain will associate it with the state. This is operant conditioning. You're literally training your nervous system to drop into the zone on command. What happens to the brain? When you're in flow, the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex shuts down, no self-doubt. The default mode network goes quiet, no wandering. The striatum and cerebellum take over, action becomes automatic. Neural efficiency increases, meaning you do more with less effort. This is where mastery lives. Not just repetition, but repetition inside the right state. How flow rewires you. Flow isn't just productive, it's transformative. You encode learning faster. You build confidence without forcing it. You become more resilient to stress. You condition your nervous system for intensity and control. And the more often you access it, the faster it becomes your default. You're not just chasing productivity, you're shaping identity. Final installation. Flow isn't about being perfect, it's about getting out of your own way. It's what happens when thought and action merge, when ego disappears, when time bends. It's not a rare event. It's a trained state, a predictable system. And once you master it, you stop forcing progress. You become the progress. This isn't hype. This is biology. Optimized. Most people wait. Wait to feel ready. Wait to feel confident. Wait to feel like the kind of person who can do the thing. But confidence doesn't come first. Action does. And every time you act, you're voting for who you believe you are. This is the confidence circuit. Action, evidence, identity, confidence, more action. Confidence is not an emotion, it's a neurological loop. Confidence is not what you think. Confidence is often mistaken for hype, or arrogance, or something you either have or don't have. It's none of that. Confidence is self-trust, the deep belief that when you move, something happens. Not perfectly, but consistently. And that belief is only built one way, by watching yourself act. The identity engine. Every action you take sends a signal to your brain. This is who I am. If you avoid, delay, or collapse, your brain logs it. If you show up, act, and adjust, your brain logs that too. This feedback loop becomes your identity. Act enough times, and you're not trying to be confident. You just are. Because your identity has caught up with your behavior. Why you can't think your way into confidence. Affirmations don't build confidence. Journaling doesn't build confidence. Waiting until it feels right definitely doesn't build confidence. Only one thing does. Action under tension. Confidence is the reward your nervous system gives you. After surviving uncertainty and realizing, I didn't die. It's a biological green light. You can do that again. The 3-rep rule. To rewire your confidence circuit, you don't need to go big. You need to go consistently. Try this. Identify something small you're avoiding. Doesn't matter if it's hard. Only matters if it triggers doubt. Do it 3 times in 3 days. Not once, not perfectly, just 3 real reps. Track the feeling before and after. Your brain will start to separate anticipation from reality. That's the rewiring. It's like a mental bench press. You don't start with heavy weight. You start by showing up and lifting something real. The compounding effect. Each time you act, 3 things happen. You weaken the hesitation signal. You collect proof of capability. You reinforce the I'm the type of person who does this identity. After a few dozen reps, you stop questioning. You stop prepping. You just move. This is why confident people aren't faster or smarter. They're just more trained in action. They've built the circuit so many times and the wiring is automatic. Final installation. You don't have to become someone first. You just have to move. And when you move, you build proof. When you build proof, you change identity. When identity shifts, confidence locks in. This is a loop, not a gift, not magic, just input and output. Action first, belief second. And one day you'll look back and realize that you didn't get confident. You became someone worth believing in. You think you have free will, but your environment is doing most of the thinking. It shapes your habits, your expectations, your sense of what's normal, even who you believe you are. If you want to change your identity, you don't just need motivation. You need a new environment. That makes the new version of you inevitable. Identity is context-driven. The person you are at the gym is different from who you are in bed at 2 a.m. The version of you in a library isn't the same as you at a loud party. Why? Because identity is fluid, and context is the container. Most people try to change themselves while living in the exact same world that created their old patterns. That's like trying to heal in the same room that made you sick. It doesn't work. The environment loop. Here's what actually happens. Your environment shapes your behavior. Your behavior reinforces your identity. Your identity influences how you shape your environment. That's the loop. And if you don't disrupt it consciously, it runs on autopilot. You become a passive character in your own story, a product of whatever energy surrounds you. But once you control your setting, you control the script. Design greater than discipline. Discipline is overrated. If you need to constantly fight your surroundings, you're wasting energy. The best move? Remove friction. Add cues. Make your default environment. Pull you toward your future self without needing force. Want to read more? Leave a book on your pillow. Want to eat clean? Remove the junk from the house. Want to move more? Keep your shoes by the door. Want to write daily? Create a clean workspace that begs for focus. Want to quit smoking? Stop hanging around ashtrays in human form. The idea isn't to become stronger. It's to become smarter with placement. Shape what shapes you. Your desk, your home, your friends, your media, even your lighting, temperature, and noise level are influencing your nervous system. Right now, your job is to become a sculptor, not of your personality, but of your inputs. Want to feel powerful? Design a space that expects you to lead. Want to feel disciplined? Design a schedule that leaves no room for debate. This is not aesthetic, it's neurological leverage. Final installation. You don't rise to the level of your potential. You fall to the level of your environment. If you want to become someone new, don't just upgrade your thoughts. Upgrade your surroundings until they no longer let you play small. Then you won't have to fight for change. It'll feel natural, obvious, automatic, because that's what the new you does in this new world you've built. We live in the most overstimulated era in human history. Every second, your brain is being bombarded by dopamine triggers, low-grade entertainment, recycled opinions, clickbait fear, and someone else's to-do list disguised as information. It doesn't feel violent, but it is. You just don't feel the damage because you're used to it. You open your phone in the morning, 5 apps, 3 notifications, a flash of bad news, a hot take, and an ad selling you something you didn't know you needed. Then you scroll, you swipe, you skim, and by the time you actually want to think, your brain is tired. Not from doing anything hard, but from processing junk. This is how most people live. Mentally bloated, emotionally scattered, neurologically hijacked. And they wonder why they can't focus, why they feel numb, why they start things and never finish. The answer isn't in more caffeine or more motivation. It's in subtraction. It's in filtration. You're not a sponge. You're a filter. Your brain isn't built to absorb everything. It's built to select. Selection equals survival. In nature, your mind was trained to filter. What matters? What's dangerous? What's useful? But now, your nervous system is dealing with artificial urgency. Thousands of stimuli, none of which are critical, all of which feel urgent. So the system breaks. And unless you forcefully take control of your inputs, you become someone else's feed. A passive endpoint in someone else's algorithm. The 80-20 rule, a cognitive weapon. The 80-20 principle, Pareto law, says 80% of results come from 20% of causes. But in the digital world, it's worse. Try this. Spend 10 hours watching YouTube content on self-growth. Then ask yourself, which 30 minutes actually changed something in you? That's not 80-20. That's more like 97 divided by 3. You don't need more information. You need a kill switch for most of it. The smartest people don't consume more. They filter with aggression. Because they understand mental input is the precursor to mental identity. Building your 80-20 filter. Here's how to clean your signal chain. Step 1. Conduct a 24-hour input audit. Track everything, literally everything that enters your mind. What did you read? Who did you talk to? What did you watch? What background noise was playing while you worked? What mental loops repeated? This isn't to shame you. It's to expose the unconscious pipeline you're plugged into. Step 2. Identify the signal. Go through that audit and highlight what actually improved you. What made you act? What made you think deeper? What made you feel more disciplined, calm, or sharp? It'll be about 10 to 20%. If that. The rest? That was theft. It took energy, but gave nothing back. Step 3. Build your whitelist and blacklist. Whitelist equals sources, formats, or voices that strengthen you. Blacklist. Those that leave you emotionally drained or mentally distracted. This could mean unfollowing 90% of your Instagram feed. Muting podcasts that repeat the same recycled success tropes and replacing them with 3 things that challenge you to grow. Step 4. Create a mental input pyramid. Imagine your input like a food pyramid. Base layer, garbage, emotional clickbait, viral sludge, negativity. Middle layer, surface value, entertainment, non-transformational education. Top layer, high value, actionable, worldview shifting material. Your goal, live at the top, not perfectly, not obsessively, but decisively. Input either builds you, drains you, or numbs you. If you don't choose, the default will choose for you. Mental obesity is real. Just like physical junk food makes you overweight and slow, mental junk food makes you foggy and unfocused. People say they're tired, but they're not. They're bloated, cognitively. They've consumed too much stimulation without digestion, too much dopamine without depth, too much noise without a signal. The cure isn't a new app. It's less input. The brain isn't meant to hold 1,000 tabs open. It's meant to execute clearly on what matters. And when you install an 80-20 filter, you take back control of your attention. And with it, your life trajectory. Final installation. Most people are mentally bankrupt, not because they lack knowledge, but because they've overdosed on trash. The mind is plastic. It reshapes according to repetition. And if you keep feeding it randomness, you'll become someone who can't focus, can't finish, and can't feel. But if you become ruthless with input, if you only allow in what fuels the identity you want, everything changes. Your clarity sharpens. Your time expands. Your mind becomes lean, strong, and deeply strategic. You don't rise to the level of your ambition. You fall to the level of your inputs. Filter harder. Think sharper. Live better. You've heard it 1,000 times. Repetition is the mother of skill. And that's true. But it's incomplete. Because repetition alone is not enough. mindless drills, numb routines, passive listening. They don't create transformation. They create stagnation. Repetition is only powerful when it's combined with one thing: emotional voltage. Without emotion, repetition becomes background noise. With emotion, repetition becomes identity. Why emotion changes the brain? The brain is plastic, but it's not equally plastic. It doesn't rewire from everything. It changes based on what it feels is important. And emotion is how the brain decides what to prioritize. The stronger the emotional charge, the more likely the brain is to encode and reinforce the input. This is how trauma burns itself into memory, and how breakthroughs leave permanent marks. Your neurons don't respond to information. They respond to significance. And emotion is the flag that says, "This matters. Save this." The myth of dry discipline. You can go through the motions every day. You can show up, tick the box, hit your rep count. But if you're emotionally flatlined, you're not installing anything deep. You're reinforcing mechanical movement, not transformation. Dry repetition builds tolerance, not growth. Think of it like lifting weights. Lifting without tension doesn't trigger adaptation. Practice without emotional load doesn't trigger rewiring. This is why people can practice for years and stay the same. They're rehearsing numbness. The power of charged repetition. Here's the real formula. Repetition plus emotional charge equals neural encoding. Want to change faster? Add meaning. Don't just recite affirmations. Say them while imagining what's at stake. Don't just practice a skill. Do it while visualizing real-world application. Don't just train. Attach it to the future you want to embody. Don't just repeat. Inject intensity. Make it matter. Emotion is the glue. It's what makes the repetition stick. Rewire through embodied practice. If you want a habit or thought pattern to become part of your identity, you need to feel it as you repeat it. That means use breath to intensify focus. Use visuals to anchor meaning. Use language that hits your nervous system, not just your mind. Pair movement with repetition when possible, because the body learns faster than the intellect. Want to learn faster? Don't just read. Speak it. Stand up. Act it out. Turn your body into a rehearsal room. Turn your mind into a stage, not a storage locker. This is why emotionally dead people stagnate. You've met them, people who do all the right things, but go nowhere. They journal, meditate, repeat quotes, set goals, but their face is numb. Their tone is flat. Their body has no voltage. They're repeating the script. But the signal isn't strong enough to break the old wiring. That's what most self-development misses. It's not about perfection. It's about feeling something real while you repeat. That's how you imprint change. Final installation. The brain is listening, but it's not just listening to what you say. It's listening to how much you feel it. That's the real code. Emotion plus repetition equals identity shift. You don't have to fake motivation. You don't have to hype yourself up endlessly. But if you repeat something over and over, make it matter. Bring the stakes into the room. Bring the future into the repetition. Bring your nervous system online. Because repetition without emotion is just echo. An echo doesn't rewire anything. The nervous system is your operating system. It controls your breath, your reactions, your fight or flight response, your perception of risk. Most people don't train it. They overload it, avoid discomfort, or let it panic on autopilot. Then they wonder why they collapse under pressure. Here's the truth. Your success is limited by your ability to stay calm in chaos. If you want to rewire how you respond to life, you need to stop protecting your nervous system and start calibrating it through controlled exposure. You're not weak. You're uncalibrated. If a cold shower shatters your willpower, if a difficult conversation ruins your mood for hours, if silence makes you fidget and crave distraction, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means your nervous system isn't trained. Your baseline state is not your fault. It's your default. But defaults are programmable, especially when you introduce challenge with precision. Controlled exposure, the antidote to fragility. Controlled exposure means this. You voluntarily place yourself into low-stakes stress environments long enough for your nervous system to adapt. You're not traumatizing yourself. You're expanding your window of tolerance. Ice baths, intense cardio, silent meditation, eye contact, difficult conversations, 10 minutes of stillness with no phone, public speaking drills, running with no music, lifting without a pump. These aren't random biohacks. They're stimuli. They're software updates. What calibration feels like. At first, you'll want to escape. The discomfort feels sharp. Your breathing shortens. Your muscles twitch. But if you hold just 10 seconds longer, the body learns, this won't kill me. And that's the rewire. Every exposure shrinks the fear loop. Every rep tells your nervous system, I can handle more than I thought. That signal is internal confidence, the only kind that matters. Intensity isn't the goal. Consistency is. Don't wait for breakdowns to test your nervous system. Train it on your terms. Start small. Sit in silence after your morning alarm for 2 minutes. Take a cold rinse at the end of your shower. Speak one uncomfortable truth per week. Fast for half a day while still training. Train without headphones or pre-workout. The point isn't to suffer. It's to become resilient by choice, adaptable by design. You don't need heroic effort. You need strategic discomfort, stacked daily. The science of resilience. When you consistently expose yourself to tolerable stress, you activate your parasympathetic regulation system. That's the brake pedal for your fight or flight. It builds internal stability, not through avoidance, but exposure plus recovery. This is neuroplasticity in action. Your nervous system becomes more efficient, less reactive, more capable, and with that, your confidence shifts from theoretical to biological. You're not trying to be calm. You are calm because you've been here before and you didn't run. Final installation. Your nervous system isn't a wall, it's a dial. And every time you turn it up, then back down, you teach it range. If you never push the edge, your system contracts. You shrink, you overreact, you burn out in ordinary chaos. But when you expose it wisely, you stretch the system. You build a new threshold. You enter chaos and stay composed. That's calibration. That's rewiring. And that's how emotional control becomes your baseline, not your peak. You think you're feeling something in real time. Stress, sadness, motivation, clarity. But what if you're not? What if most of what you feel is just a delayed echo, a residue from something earlier in the day, or last week, or even last year? The mind isn't a live broadcast. It's a time-delayed stream with poor buffering and a biased editor. If you don't understand this, you'll misread yourself. You'll trust feelings that belong to a previous moment, and you'll make decisions from outdated data. Emotion has lag. Every emotion has a half-life. It doesn't vanish the moment you shift your attention. It hangs around, invisible but active, influencing your next move. You get angry at someone in the morning. 5 hours later, you snap at a friend over nothing. You feel rejection on Monday. By Thursday, you're avoiding people without realizing why. You drink too much caffeine. That fake confidence bleeds into reckless decisions. You scroll social media for 20 minutes. Now your sense of self-worth is quietly degraded for the next 6 hours. It's not the big breakdowns. It's the slow leaks. Most people live in emotional echo chambers without knowing it. You are not your immediate feeling. Just because you feel something now doesn't mean it came from now. This is the delayed emotion principle. Most of what you feel isn't caused by the present moment. It's carried in from the past. And if you don't pause to investigate that feeling, you'll assume the cause is what's right in front of you. It rarely is. You're not anxious about the meeting. You're still wired from the argument last night. You're not bored of your work. You're still recovering from a dopamine crash. You're not unmotivated. You're emotionally overstimulated and mentally exhausted. Learn to trace your feelings backwards. Find the real source, not the nearest trigger. Install the pause buffer. To use this principle practically, install a 3-part buffer system. Notice the emotional spike. What are you feeling, physically and mentally? Label it. Zoom out the timeline. Ask, is this emotion fresh, or did it start earlier? Trace the input chain. What happened 10 minutes ago? An hour ago? Yesterday? Was it food? A conversation? A notification? A skipped habit? A comparison? Track it like an investigator, not a victim. The power of emotional delay awareness. When you train yourself to pause, you buy time. You shift from reaction to recognition. That pause lets you respond with logic, not leftover panic. Break patterns instead of repeating them. Catch the ghost of old inputs before they hijack the present. This is emotional maturity at the neurological level. Don't trust the first feeling. The first feeling you get is often a decoy. It's the loudest, not the truest. Trust the second wave. The feeling that arrives after you breathe, after you observe, after you decide whether to keep the signal or not. Your nervous system is full of echoes. Your mind is full of delayed downloads. And if you treat all of them as truth, you'll constantly be miscalibrated. But if you build space between stimulus and story, you'll navigate your emotions like a surgeon, not a sponge. Final installation. Not all emotions are lies, but most are late. They're not where you are, they're where you were. You can't stop feelings from arriving, but you can stop acting on them before asking where they came from. That's how emotional control is built. Not through repression, but through awareness of lag. You're not late. Your emotions are. And the moment you stop reacting to the past, you start building a mind that lives in the present, sharp, clear, and unshaken. Every mindset, every identity, every future you try to build, all of it depends on one central loop. Do you trust yourself? Not theoretically. Not as some motivational mantra. Can you trust yourself? Consistently. Under pressure. When no one is watching. If the answer is no dash. You can fake discipline for a while, but it won't hold. You'll relapse. You'll hesitate. You'll overthink. Because you haven't built the deepest mental foundation there is. The belief that I do what I say I'll do. The quiet collapse of self-trust. Here's the pattern no one talks about. You set goals. You don't follow through. You justify it with logic. Too busy. Not the right time. I'll start tomorrow. You forget about it. But your subconscious doesn't. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken the loop. Not just your discipline, your identity. You become the kind of person who hopes they'll change, but doesn't believe they will. That's the death spiral. Low self-trust, procrastination, shame, lower self-trust. And now every goal you set feels like a lie before you even begin. Real confidence comes from consistency. Confidence isn't about being loud. It's not a personality trait. It's not fake hype or empty affirmations. It's evidence. The only way to become confident is to build a track record with yourself. Not with the world. With you. You want to believe you're unstoppable? Good. Be someone who actually finishes things, even small ones. Say you'll work for 10 minutes. Do it. Say you'll stretch before bed. Do it. Say you'll leave your phone outside the room. Do it. Say you'll wake up at 7. Do it. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be trustworthy. You need to be able to rely on yourself. Like a soldier relies on a weapon. Not with blind faith, with trained certainty. The core loop rewired. Here's how you build the core loop of self-trust. 1. Say less, but mean it. Don't promise yourself 10 new habits. Promise 1, and make that promise sacred. When you say, I'll do this. Imagine signing your name in blood. Make your word heavier. 2. Shrink the commitment. Sharpen the focus. Lower the bar. A 10-minute walk. 1 glass of water. 1 truth spoken. The smaller the action, the less resistance. The faster the win. And every win is a deposit into your self-trust bank. 3. Follow through at all costs. No negotiation, no excuses, no emotion. Just execution. Even if it's late, even if it's messy, even if it's hard, do what you said. Or your nervous system will remember that you didn't. Discipline, without self-trust, is a lie. People think discipline is about willpower. It's not. It's about identity alignment. You stay disciplined, not because it's easy, but because it feels normal for who you are. Of course I did that. I'm the kind of person who follows through. That's the core loop. You trust, you act, you build evidence, you trust more. Break it, and everything becomes harder. Fix it, and everything accelerates. How to know if you have it. Here's how you'll know when the loop is working. You stop over-planning. You stop looking for hacks. You feel peace, not panic, when you look at your goals. You move without needing motivation. You don't announce your goals. You just do them. This is what mental strength actually looks like. Not noise, not drama, just quiet self-alignment. Over and over again. Self-trust is not self-love. It's self-respect. You don't need to hype yourself up. You need to show up. You don't need to believe in your future yet. You just need to show your nervous system that you can be relied on today. When you say, I'll do this, and you do it, you program your subconscious to expect follow-through. That expectation becomes identity. That identity becomes momentum. And momentum turns ordinary humans into extraordinary machines. Final installation. Most people have a mental virus. They believe their word to others matters more than their word to themselves. So they show up for deadlines, but ghost their own goals. They please everyone and betray their own blueprint. They seek external respect while trashing their internal self-contract. If you want to become unstoppable, don't start with ambition. Start with integrity. Say what you mean what you say. Then prove it, every day, with action. Because self-trust is not motivation. It's mental armor, and without it, you will break under pressure. But with it, you don't just do hard things. You become someone who doesn't flinch. And that's when the real rewiring begins. There's a switch in your brain. It doesn't look flashy. It doesn't feel comfortable. But once you flip it, your life will never be the same. It's the switch from blame to ownership. Most people never touch it. They spend years, decades, outsourcing everything. Their moods, caused by others. Their habits, shaped by circumstance. Their failures, blamed on timing, family, systems, fate. Their stagnation, justified by stories they never wrote but chose to carry. And here's the tragedy. The more you blame, the less you change. Because your brain learns over time that power lives outside you. And once that wiring locks in, you become a puppet, reacting to life, never directing it. Responsibility is not blame, it's control. The word responsibility scares people because they confuse it with shame, with guilt, with punishment. But let's be clear. Radical responsibility has nothing to do with fault. It has everything to do with responsibility. Your ability to respond to anything, without flinching, folding, or fleeing. Responsibility is claiming authorship of your life. Not because it's fair, not because you deserve the bad cards, but because it's the only position that gives you leverage. The moment you say, even if it's not my fault, it's still my move. You activate the part of your brain that begins to solve, adapt, and evolve. The neurology of victimhood versus ownership. Here's what neuroscience tells us. When you focus on external blame, you light up brain regions related to defense, justification, and identity protection. When you shift to internal ownership, you activate the prefrontal cortex, the decision-making engine. That means your very ability to reframe, plan, and act is tied to how much responsibility you take. The victim mind says, "This is happening to me." The owner mind says, "This is happening through me, and now I get to choose what's next." That subtle shift, it rewires the system from passivity to potency. Radical responsibility is not natural, it's trained. You weren't raised to take full ownership. You were raised to follow instructions, to explain mistakes, to obey hierarchies, to apologize for things you didn't do, and defer to authority for things you want. Radical responsibility has to be trained, brutally and deliberately, because it feels wrong at first. It feels unfair to own the way your parents raised you. It feels wrong to take responsibility for being betrayed. It feels absurd to claim your part in the chaos that happened to you. But that's where the power hides. Not in pretending you caused it, but in realizing you're the only one who can transmute it. You don't have to love what happened, but you can't grow if you don't claim it. How to install the radical responsibility loop. To build it into your wiring, you need to run this loop. 1. Pause before reaction. Catch the moment when blame rises, even in your head. Track it. Pause it. 2. Ask the killer question. What part of this can I take ownership of, even if it's only 1%? That question interrupts the victim loop. It puts you back in command. 3. Make a move. Take any action, even symbolic, to reclaim control. Write the message, clean the space, reset your posture, rewrite the rule. The point isn't the action. It's the message to your subconscious. We don't wait. We move. Every time you do this, you shrink the part of your mind that waits for rescue, and you feed the part that builds escape routes. Ownership doesn't mean isolation. Let's clarify something. Radical responsibility is not about doing life alone. It's not about denying pain, ignoring injustice, or becoming emotionally numb. It's about ending the delay between pain and progress. It means you can say, yes, that hurt. Yes, that wasn't fair. But now I choose how to carry it. Now I decide how much of my future I'm willing to let be shaped by my past. Radical responsibility doesn't reject emotion. It refuses to let emotion drive. You still feel, but you lead. You still cry, but you move. You still stumble, but you own the fall. And the rise, the identity shift. Taking responsibility for your life changes your identity. You stop being someone waiting for better conditions, and you become someone capable of thriving in any conditions. You no longer say, I'll be better when they change. I'll take action when I feel ready. I'll start when it's clearer. You say, this is on me. I move anyway. Let's fucking go. And with every repetition of that mindset, you wire in an identity that is unblameable, unshakable, and self-generating. You are the variable. Here's the final truth. You are the variable, not the job, not the weather, not your upbringing, not the algorithm, not the algorithm, not the algorithm. You. You are the one who will decide whether your story gets recycled or rewritten. You are the one who either reacts like the past still owns you, or acts like you've already taken the throne back. And yes, it's hard. Yes, it's daily. Yes, it hurts. But nothing will rewire your mind faster than waking up every day and saying, this is my life. No matter what cards I was dealt, I play the hand like a fucking champion. That's not delusion. That's not toxic positivity. That's sovereignty. Final installation. Radical responsibility isn't a life hack. It's a threshold. Once you cross it, there is no going back to victimhood without betraying the new self you're building. It's not about perfection. It's about direction. And once you choose it, once you commit to owning every moment, every emotion, every result, you step into the only position that rewires the mind fully, the driver's seat. From here on out, you don't react. You steer. No more waiting. No more hoping. No more blaming. Only building, only owning, only rising. Your identity feels solid, like a fact, like something you discover by looking inward and pulling back the curtain. But that's the lie. Your identity isn't something you find. It's something you build. It's not a mirror. It's a script. And the version you are today, it's just the current draft, a product of repetition, environment, memory, emotion, trauma, and imitation. Not destiny, just pattern. And patterns can be changed if you're willing to stop mistaking them for you. Most people are playing a role they didn't choose. You weren't born with beliefs about who you are. You downloaded them from parents, from teachers, from pain, from praise, from failures you never processed, from labels that stuck, from stories you heard so often they felt like truth. You're shy. You're the smart one. You're too sensitive. You'll never be like them. Each one left a fingerprint on your internal script, until eventually, the story became self-perpetuating. You acted the way you were expected to, You reinforced it through behavior, and the behavior built more evidence for the identity. That's how mental prisons are built. And they're strongest when they look like personality. The science. Identity is neuroplastic. Your brain is not static. Your wiring is not set. Neuroscience has proven this over and over. You can literally rewire your self-perception through directed repetition and new experiences. Every time you act out of character, on purpose, you stretch your identity. Every time you override a fear, interrupt a pattern, or take action from a future version of yourself, you force your brain to update the model of who you are. You're not trapped, you're just rehearsed, and rehearsals can be rewritten. The invisible force, identity maintenance behavior. Most people think habits shape their identity, but the reverse is even more powerful. Identity shapes behavior, especially in ways you don't notice. Your brain wants to be consistent. It doesn't want to feel fake or fragmented, so it creates identity-congruent behaviors to protect the story you've already bought into. If you believe you're lazy, you'll avoid effort, even if you want the result. If you believe you're awkward, you'll behave stiffly and misinterpret social cues. If you believe you're unlovable, you'll sabotage intimacy before it can deepen. This is not weakness. It's coherence. And your brain prizes coherence more than truth. The Identity Interrupt Protocol. To rewire your sense of self, you need to do more than think new thoughts. You need to act in a way that creates a cognitive dissonance too strong to ignore. You need to show your brain, this isn't who we are anymore. Here's how you break the loop. Name the current identity. Write down your dominant identity loops. The ones that hold you in place. The ones you feel most often. Be honest. I'm not good at finishing things. I'm the type of person who loses momentum. I always freeze in high-stakes situations. Identify the new identity. Describe who you'd be if none of those stories existed. Speak in present tense. This isn't a wish list. I finish what I start. I move fast. I stay composed under pressure. Design identity-reinforcing actions. Pick 3 small but bold actions that contradict the old loop. Do them daily. Make a decision quickly. Complete a 5-minute task without delay. Have one hard conversation without overthinking. Repeat until the brain updates. Don't do it once. Do it daily. Force the brain to resolve the mismatch between your old self-perception and your new behavior. This is how identity becomes elastic. Not through hope, through disruption. You are allowed to become unrecognizable. Forget the people who know you. Forget your old patterns. Forget the metrics that define your past. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to become someone entirely new. In fact, if you want a new life, you have to. Because your brain follows identity like a map. And if the map doesn't change, the destination won't either. You can live as a performance of a past version of yourself, or you can break the script and build something so aligned, so direct, and so you that the old version of you wouldn't even recognize it. And when people say, "You've changed," you say, "Finally." Because you didn't come here to play yourself on repeat. You came here to build. And it starts by deciding, the identity I've rehearsed is over. The identity I embody now is mine to design. Clarity is the ultimate psychological armor. Not intelligence, not charisma, not ambition. Clarity. When you know what you want, truly, precisely, and obsessively, you become harder to sway, harder to shake, harder to fool. Because the second you commit to your own internal compass, you stop reacting to every external signal. The manipulation loop. Manipulation doesn't always look like a predator in the shadows. It often looks like social pressure disguised as advice, temptation dressed up as opportunity, guilt presented as loyalty, fear weaponized as caution. You don't get manipulated because you're weak. You get manipulated because you're unclear. When you lack precision in what you want, you outsource decision-making. You defer to the loudest voice. You let others define the rules. You become shapeable. And that makes you vulnerable to people, to systems, to moods, to trends. But when you know what you want, you start filtering everything through that lens, and manipulation starts bouncing off like static. Clarity is rare because it requires violence. Yes, violence. Not against others, but against distraction, against contradiction, against the seductive comfort of indecision. To know what you want, you have to kill 1,000 other options. You have to disappoint others. You have to amputate outdated dreams. You have to choose one path while burning every exit. Most people avoid clarity because they don't want to grieve the alternatives. So they stay foggy. Because fog is safe. In the fog, you can pretend you're exploring. You can stall and call it freedom. But fog makes you easy to lead. Or worse, easy to use. The psychology of anchored desire. Once your desire is anchored, everything gets easier. Not because the path is smooth, but because the noise dies. You stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "Does this serve the mission?" That shift reprograms your decision tree. Instead of navigating based on moods, opinions, or trends, you navigate based on alignment. Does this get me closer? Does this dilute my focus? Does this reinforce my identity? You stop playing life like a tourist. You start moving like a weapon. The internal GPS. Your mind is programmable. It orients toward what you obsess over. If you obsess over comfort, it will steer you toward sedation. If you obsess over validation, it will steer you toward performance. If you obsess over growth, it will steer you toward resistance. But if you don't choose the target, your mind will chase the nearest loud signal. That's why people burn years chasing status symbols that leave them empty, or people pleasing their way into burnout. The solution? Manual override. Set the coordinates yourself, and then lock them in. Not once, daily. Wake up and remind your nervous system what the mission is. Remind your attention where to live. Remind your emotions what matters. You are either defining the mission or being used by someone else's. Let's make it real. If you don't know what you want, you will. Spend your time fulfilling someone else's vision. Be guided by guilt instead of values. Be pulled into urgency that isn't yours. Be trapped in indecision because every path looks equally empty. But if you know what you want, you will. Filter out 90% of distraction. Stop arguing with people who aren't aligned. Make decisions with precision and peace. Feel momentum, even on bad days. This is how you become unfuckwithable, not by being aggressive, but by being directed. How to install it. 1. Write it out, in brutal detail. What do you want? Not vague success, not what you think sounds good. Write it like a blueprint. Where do you live? What do you wake up to? What does your calendar look like? What drives you? 2. Cut out the half-wants. If it doesn't belong in your vision, kill it, not later. Now, the maybe path. The almost gig. The half-interesting offer. All of it must go. 3. Rehearse the vision until it becomes instinct. Your nervous system must hear the vision daily. Tattoo it into your attention. Let it become the filter. Repetition creates familiarity. Familiarity becomes identity. 4. Use it as a weapon. When someone makes a request, when life throws a curveball, when you hit emotional turbulence, ask, does this move me toward what I want or away from it? And act accordingly. Final installation. You want power? Get precise. You want freedom? Pick a direction. You want peace? Stop negotiating with noise. Because the world is full of people, platforms, and systems designed to manipulate the unclear. But when you wake up every day knowing exactly what you want, you become the one who shapes, not the one who is shaped. And in that clarity, you become unshakable. Not because the world is soft, but because your vision is sharper than the pull of distraction. You are no longer programmable by accident. You are chosen by you. You are not being led. You are the signal.